Alright guys, welcome to episode 3 of Lifting the Lid.
In this episode, expect to find out where you could be deployed if you join the Marines, the role the Corps played in Afghanistan, and how I got banned from a casino in Vegas.
Let's get into it. Right, we're back.
Episode 3 of Lifting the Lid. Okay, so deployments and socials. Today, obviously, the Marines are involved in a fair amount of deployment. That's their major job. And when you're not deployed on a combat tour or anything like that, you'll do some sort of social with the trip that you're on. So that's what we're delving into today.
Structure-wise, we're going to treat this the same way that you treat a roast dinner. Right. Serious stuff first. We get your veg in.
Yeah.
Get the nasty stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
And then we're on to the treats.
Then we're on to the Yorkshire.
Yeah. Then we're on, points mean prizes then.
Cool.
Right. So in terms of deployments,
yeah.
Obviously you never.
I was never deployed in a combat role, no.
In a live war zone.
No, we covered that the other week, didn't we? Or last
Yeah.
week.
But just given times and dates, most of the lads that you did serve with, if they were deployed anywhere, it would have been Iraq or Afghanistan. Yeah,
so just because of timings wise, obviously I joined in 2016, so post 2016 there was nothing going on, but before that, in the kind of last decade before that, there was Afghanistan, Iraq. So the people I was serving with, like my corporals, my superiors, that's where they'd been, I guess.
So just for anyone who doesn't know, basic history admin, Afghanistan 2001 until 2014, yeah. And then Iraq was slightly shorter, wasn't it?
Before that.
No, it was 2003. No, because you got the first Gulf War.
Oh, yeah.
They could have served in the first
They
Gulf
would have served
War,
in the first, some of them, but only a few.
And then the
second
kicking Saddam out.
Right, got you.
So that's 2003 to like 2011 or something.
So they're kind of concurrent, that's why.
Yeah.
It's Afghanistan and Iraq usually. People have been to both, or just Afghanistan deployment. Some people have been to both of them.
Yeah, well, let's not get bogged down in the politics.
Yeah,
but they were both part of the larger war on terror, weren't they?
Exactly.
So,
broadly.
Obviously you have no first-hand experience.
No.
But of the lads that you did serve with, what was their overall opinion of those conflicts? In terms of, is it somewhere you want to be sent? And I'm not a betting man, but I'm pretty sure I can imagine what the answer is.
Yeah, a bit of a shithole, I think, is kind of the long and short of it. But essentially, it's kind of weird because you don't really think about the big picture and like the political effort or whatever, or what the government's trying to achieve. You kind of just, from what I hear, trying to get through that next day or whatever, or look after your mates around you, and that's your main effort for that set of 24 hours. And you go again until your tour's over. So you're just worried about looking after yourself. You're not really worried about why you're there or the actual broader effort for the most part, unless you're an officer.
You have more pressing issues on your mind, don't you?
Not staying alive.
Not getting fucking blown
not getting
up.
Shot in the head.
Don't care what George Bush said in his press conference.
Yeah, you're not really tuned into all of that. But yeah, I imagine a fairly low opinion of the overall place because of the way they were treated by some of the locals, in that people would, pose as Taliban pose as locals, and then they would be Taliban fighters or whatever, and they'd pull out whatever. That tended to be fairly common, I think, where there'd be people you'd be working with every day. Maybe they were in the Afghan National Army.
Yeah.
But actually, they were a member of the Taliban.
Well, you're fighting an invisible enemy, aren't you?
Yeah, and in their back gardens. They know exactly where to hide. And all.
It's the problem with any guerrilla war, really. Because you never really know who's your enemy.
No one's wearing a uniform, are they? No. So they could just have a pitchfork in their hand 1 minute and then an AK-47 the next, and then you don't know what to do. So.
And as far as the Marines go, obviously, being an elite unit, they're going to get the shitty end of the stick, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I think they were the first, 40 Commando were the first British unit to deploy to Afghanistan in 2001.
Right.
And they were also basically one of the last to leave.
The boys. Yeah. Holding down the fort.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. They would have gone to the sticky end as well. Like, there's Camp Bastion where the wider forces were.
Yeah, all got some good stats on Camp Bastion.
Yeah, and then down from that was Helmand Province, where everything went on pretty much, where all the bad stuff happened. And and that was where it was quite sticky. So that's where the lads got sent, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, so basically the war was supposed to be a quick... What would you describe it as? It was supposed to kick out Al-Qaeda, wasn't it? It was supposed to eradicate Al-Qaeda and instill a new government.
Yeah. It was an insurgency, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was insurgency. And it very quickly got bogged down in an occupation, effectively.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it just turned into, because it took so long to actually achieve the objective that it became sort of an occupation.
So, just to quickly encapsulate how the conflict escalated.
Yeah.
At its peak, 137 UK bases, around 10,000 British troops, just in Helmand province.
10,000 in Helmand?
Yeah, at its peak. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Camp Bastion, as you mentioned, was the main UK base in Afghanistan. Its perimeter wall at one point was 20 miles long.
Mad.
It was the same size as Reading.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. It also, I don't know if you've got this, it had like more air traffic, so more flights than, is it Stansted? On a daily basis, or is it different?
I'm so glad you brought this up. I've got the exact stat.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Really.
So its runway's 2.2 miles long.
Nice. Yeah.
And per day, that accommodated more than 600 flights. So I did my research right. Last year, Heathrow averaged 536 a day.
That's mental.
So
more busy than Heathrow.
Contextualise that.
It's huge.
It's huge. Yeah. It's basically a city.
Yeah. It's a city, and they just erected it.
Yeah.
For like the people to fly into. That's where you'd stay for like a couple of nights or whatever. Then you go down to wherever you need to be. Basically, like the green zone or Helmand.
So to try and, obviously I have no experience with this, but if you put yourself in the shoes of like someone in 40 Commando or something.
Yeah.
You've flown out to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you could have never left the UK before.
Well, you theoretically could just be straight out of training. This happened a lot where people would be 18, 17, whatever, finish training, next week they're deploying to Afghanistan. It's insane when you think about it. And to put myself in that situation, thinking about how competent I felt and how confident I felt. Obviously I did, but I definitely grew in confidence at a unit later on. Yeah. Like coming straight out of training, just having that 32 weeks. Remember, 8 months ago, these were civvies. We'd never held a weapon before, whatever.
And now you're in fucking hell, man.
And now you're getting shot at. You know, you've got a hardened Taliban fighter across the desert. You know, it's just mental.
That is shit.
It's shocking.
That is shit.
Shocking, really. But I mean, it's a necessity thing, isn't it? Obviously, we don't have millions of people to deploy, so anyone who's trained has got to go. And they would typically go, if they were out of training, they would typically go as like a battlefield casualty replacement. Even tougher, I would think. But maybe I'm wrong, but because you've got to think, you've got like a tight knit group in a fob or whatever. They've had a bloke go down, so either he's died or he's too injured to carry on. Now you're going to take his role. Should you go and be shit or go and like fuck up on the first few days? Can you imagine like the stress and the how bad that could get? You know, in some of a culture thing.
Yeah, because they're just going to judge you against the guy that you're replacing. Exactly. Who they're obviously going to be very fond of, and also
they're going to hold in great esteem.
And also pissed off he's either been injured and or worst case scenario killed.
So I can imagine that'd be probably the worst scenario, to go straight out of training as a battlefield casualty replacement, which I know a lot of people did.
So on average, how long is a tour?
6 months, I think.
6 months?
Yeah, average. I think that some are longer, some are like 4 or 3, but mostly 6. Yeah.
And is it always as intense? Of like, are you always going to be out in Helmand?
I don't know, to be honest. I'd imagine so, though. Yeah, you'd move around like patrol bases or forward operating bases, and where you, like whichever one of those you're at, there's different levels of security you've got to uphold. There's different levels of like patrol schedule you've got to uphold. So, on a patrol base where there's just a section of a troop or just a troop, you've got less people. So of course you've still got to maintain the same level of security. So that means every bloke counts for more. So every bloke's got to work harder. They've got to do more sentry. They've got to do more patrols. So you probably move around a little bit between those two. And that would dictate your kind of working routine.
So theoretically, you could spend 6 months in a shitty mud hut compound.
Yeah, on rations. Patrolling every day.
In the baking sun.
Yeah, sounds great.
Ooh,
your worst nightmare.
Mike, that's like a Frankie Boyle joke, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's what you need in an unwinnable desert war.
More gingers.
More ginger people, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you'd be on rations. Typically, you'd be patrolling for like 8 to 10 hours a day with heavy kit on, in the sun, 50 degrees, whatever, trying to dodge IEDs, trying not to die. It's just terrible. But yeah.
Yeah, so you've got Afghanistan and Iraq. I think, unfortunately, 457 British forces personnel.
That between the two? Or
fatalities. No, this is British forces in total.
So between the two conflicts, I mean?
No, this is just Afghan.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure how many of those were Marines.
I can't remember the actual number, the exact number.
So 11 Royal Marines were killed in Iraq, but I couldn't get the exact number on Afghan.
Maybe in the low hundreds, potentially.
I imagine
something.
Probably more in Afghanistan.
Maybe not that many, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
It's still a fucking horrible amount, isn't it?
Yeah, it's horrific. And you've got to think that, you know, obviously you've got infantry, paras, Marines are typically they're going to be the front end, like the first.
Yeah, they're the
first port of call.
Yeah.
The people at Bastion aren't really going to be in much danger, really, considering how well protected it is, how huge it is, like we've said.
Yeah,
so
it goes back to
if
what
it's
we
going
were
to be
saying.
anyone, it's going to be a Marine or a Para or whatever, or an infantryman. But at the same time, you've also got to think optimism. You've got to think, you know, the Marines are the most elite and the best fighting force probably out there. So
yeah,
there's going to be less chance, therefore, that you could fall foul of things because you're well trained. You're better equipped to deal with the situation. So,
but I was surprised that a Marine wasn't awarded a VC in Afghanistan and in Iraq.
Yeah, we were talking about this a bit off air, weren't we? But it's like,
go on, drop the stat bomb.
Oh yeah. There's been no VC winners in the Marines since the Second World War. Is it?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Thomas Hunter.
There we go.
4-3 Commando.
He's ready for his Royal Marines interview. Yeah. So, I mean, and that is crazy considering the amount of conflict they've been through in that time. I think this is in the Falklands. They did some insane things, the Marines.
This is what I mean, I can't believe it.
Ridiculous. Like yomping hundreds of miles to get round enemy defences. And Margaret Thatcher was in power then, and I think she said...
Not my friend.
Yeah, I think she said, leaving the politics out of it, she said that we don't award Marines Victoria Crosses easily because that's just what's expected of them. Because they're expected to do these kind of things, that we don't commend them for it in that way because there's got to be like a exceptional.
I don't agree with that.
No, I don't think
that's bollocks. A life is a life.
Yeah, and I think there's something in the rules and regulations for getting given a Victoria Cross where it kind of means you have to have died to get issued it.
Cheated death.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly. There was that famous one, the Gurkha. I think he got a Victoria Cross. It might have been a military cross, but it was like just him and like 60 Taliban surrounding him in a little hut. It's insane, and he fought his way out. I don't know how he managed it, but yeah, I think it was him and a couple of other
that's mental.
Gurkhas.
Yeah, but I was surprised to hear that. To be that, I mean, there was a lot of other battle honours. Like I think there was a few George Crosses, which is like the next honour down.
Yeah.
Distinguished Service Orders, Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, but no VCs.
Yeah, the VC's the top one, isn't it?
Is it harder to be awarded a VC now?
Now? Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Do we think?
I imagine it is, but
I mean, I'm going in blind here. I don't really know anything about it. But
I don't know why that would be. Potentially because there's better...
Like, is the bar being set higher? I mean, this is like a bit of a perverse conversation.
I don't think the bar's been set higher. What I think maybe is the case, this again is just me guessing, could be that combat's changed, hasn't it? And so that means that tactics have changed, and therefore tactics are better. And so before, in Second World War, people were having to do these crazy things because they're having to defy kind of the shit tactics that were at play there.
Yeah.
Having to like run up the beaches at Normandy or whatever.
Yeah, I guess there's less like cannon fodder vibes now.
Exactly, yeah. So less opportunity to maybe
that
get
makes
that.
sense. I've never thought of it like that.
And certainly now with technology coming into play, where you've got drones now we use to forward reconnaissance. Yeah. Very rarely is that now people doing that, and then have the opportunity to get something, to win something, which of course isn't what it's about, but happens. You now have a drone with a camera fly around and see what's going on. Makes it much more effective.
So, I think we touched on this in a previous podcast. To what extent is there a disconnect between Marines that have, done
combat and one's
Yeah,
urban.
basically, for want of a better phrase.
I think again, like there is a little bit, but it all depends on who you talk to, really.
Yeah, is it very like
it's individual?
Individual, yeah.
I think
some people
there's some
are a
of
bit
that.
touchy, and some people are a bit like it's just
the old
circumstance.
guard. So like people who've been in years and years and years, and maybe got treated a little bit worse through training and in a unit, that kind of thing. They're always gonna look at you a little bit in a lesser light if you've never been anywhere. But if you've got any sense of logic around you, then you know that we never had the opportunity to do that. And it's not like we've opted out, it's just that we joined at a different time than they did. So, yeah, there's a little bit of that, but not too much, I wouldn't say. Certainly not now.
And to what extent is... well, I guess you joined afterwards, but like, to what extent are those conflicts politicised, or is it all just very much like just the job? Or just politics just come into it?
For the most part, just the job. Sometimes with individuals, sometimes people take an interest in it, and so they have an opinion. But there was the thing that came out. Was it last year when the Taliban like pretty much overran again in Afghanistan? Do you remember that?
Yeah, they're back in charge.
Yeah,
now.
so back in charge. And when that happened, there was a big influx of people who'd served coming out online and being like, "This is fucking mental because I lost so and so," and speaking about it, which is it's the first time I've seen that, which is interesting. But maybe it just wasn't brought to the fore before that, potentially.
It's got to be frustrating in the eyes of someone, who's like a British forces
veteran
who served in Afghanistan, to then just see
massively.
the security forces there down tools.
Massively.
It's just like...
That's kind of...
I guess it's your job, but like you can't...
Well, it's kind of weird because it's the thing they were kind of really doing in Afghan was training the Afghan National Army so they could pull out and they would take over if anything happened.
Never materialised.
Yeah, and I liken it almost to like, if you had like a PT client, right?
Yeah.
And you could give them all the tools that you want, right? And then you send them out the door, and then you see them in like 6 months' time, they're fat again. It's like, fuck's sake, I gave you everything you needed, now you're just fat again. So that's what I kind of liken it to in my life now. But I think it would be massively frustrating to see that. Certainly having given so much and lost so much of your own kind of friends or whatever, and for that to happen.
Yeah, it's a shitter. Wait, it frustrated me, and I've never fucking left Europe.
You actually?
No. Actually, I've been to North Africa.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go, Mr. Worldwide.
Traveller.
Speaking of Mr. Worldwide,
yeah.
Let's segue now
into
travel.
Okay, sweet. Happy days.
Right, so obviously you've got like tours of actual live conflicts.
Tours of duty, yeah.
But then you obviously got sent to places on
training
and exercises and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what's the verdict? It's better than being in a live war zone, surely.
Probably, yeah. I can probably vouch for that. Essentially, yeah. So when you're not deployed in a combat role, or when there's not a combat role available, they obviously need to train, and you need to train with foreign forces sometimes. And need to go and experience different climates like Arctic and like desert and that kind of thing. So they'll combine these things with obviously trips abroad where you go for like 3 weeks to 3 months really can be the range, and you'll go and typically a couple of weekends you'll go and be let loose, and it is loose, but because you can imagine like you're held up, all this pent up testosterone and aggression is just waiting to be let loose on the Vegas Strip.
Just really aggressive, manly blokes.
Yeah, and they're just locked up with each other.
Yeah.
And then you let them into the wide world, and it's just terrifying. But yeah.
Some quick housekeeping then. Where did you actually get to travel to?
With the Marines specifically.
In the Corps, yeah.
So France first.
So you do that in training, don't you?
Yeah, so maybe try and go in order here.
You go to the D-Day beaches, don't you?
Yeah, you do like a little walk round. You do get on the piss a little bit because you're in training. You have like a curfew. And it's all a bit more measured. However, ours didn't go to plan, and we missed the curfew. But anyway, then went to my unit, and I went to Holland and Germany, and then Spain as well. But I think that was just our trip. But anyway,
so the Holland trip was World War II related as well, wasn't it? Wasn't it Operation Market Garden? Was it like a remembrance thing?
No, that was Berlin. That was a little bit World War II. That was just because we went to Germany for the Rangers, and then on the weekend went to Berlin, got on the piss on the night, and then in the day went round the memorials and stuff. And then America, a couple of the bigger ones like America for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and Norway. I did 4 months in Norway. It was my last big one. I think that's about it really for the major ones. But yeah, the kind of we went to Germany twice, I think, because there's some like recurrence. Sometimes you go to the same places.
Well, I guess it's always been a thing, hasn't it? Like
Estonia,
British Army personnel getting sent to Germany because of the Cold War link.
Yeah.
That is becoming less prevalent now, isn't it?
I think they're actually pulling out and stopping that deployment. Maybe that's for the army, and then the Marines will still go and do it.
Because it always used to be a classic, didn't it? Because we always used to have, like, I don't know, going back 40, 50 years, there was always British service.
Army, yeah. British Army have always been in that camp that we stayed in. It's pretty much a British camp, like it's just in Germany.
And they're chinning that off?
I think so. I think that was the plan when I was there. Maybe it's still there.
That could all change now with
True.
Our friend Mr. Putin.
True, probably, yeah. I mean, more so Norway.
The new Cold War.
More so Norway. That's
going to become more prevalent,
that's
isn't
why
it?
That's why we're there.
Arctic training, it's the northern flank of NATO, isn't it?
That is what it is. So the reason the Marines are in Norway is like almost a deterrent. I guess we're like almost always forward deployed in Norway for training purposes, obviously, and that will hopefully play on the Russians' mind that we're not only able to fight in our own backyard but in theirs as well. So that's kind of the idea about
much more competently than them.
Yeah, that's the hope. No one can fucking fight in Norway, mate. It's mental.
It's kind of like damage limitation, really, isn't it?
Some of the stuff you get taught when you're like running in snowshoes through like fucking 10-foot deep snow trying to actually fight is just mental.
Yeah.
You think if anyone's actually shooting at me, I'd be screwed.
So you got Norway and the US were the big ones, weren't they? You got a good contrast there because you basically sent to the desert in America and you went to the Arctic in Norway.
Funny enough though, the desert was freezing.
At night?
Yeah, so the desert was like in February. Normally they do that deployment in summer, but for some reason we did in February. And like in the day it was at 20 degrees, still mega windy, so not really warm. And then in the night it was like -5. I was like, this is a fucking desert. I didn't sign up for this. But yeah, so it was.
So to what extent are those trips? Could all bootnecks expect to go to America and Norway, or was it dependent on the course that you took? With your specialisation.
No, pretty much. You could, if you stayed in for a fair amount of time. If you were in for like 8 years and you hadn't been to America, I don't know how that'd happen, to be honest. And same with Norway. Norway's a rite of passage, really, and it's very structured when you get there.
So, given that we've got a good contrast between the two, give us a quick toss up of both trips, like positives and negatives.
Okay, we'll go negatives first.
We'll start with Norway, and we'll go through each one. So
negatives of Norway.
Yeah.
Other than the cold, right? So Norway, when you go to
so for context, you hate the cold.
Yeah, I don't like the cold. Yeah. Neither does anyone really.
Well,
you're made for it.
The fairer skin.
Yeah. So Norway, you start with a 3-week winter warfare course, which is horrendous by everyone's standards. If you ask any Marine who's been to Norway, it's probably the worst thing they've ever done. And it involves kind of long, drawn out cross country skis with massive amounts of weight on your back. It involves the icebreaker drills that everyone probably would have seen if they're listening to this podcast. It's like...
Oh, classic.
When you have the square cut out of the ice and you have to jump in, say your name, get out. That's not nice either. You have survival to do that week as well, where you get stripped of everything. You're in the middle of Norway, so it's like -15. You then have to go make a fire, make a shelter, try and survive a night without any sleeping bags or anything like that.
So this is like quintessential like Bear Grylls.
Yeah,
isn't it? This is
like just to make sure you're not going to die when you get out there.
This is Raimi's on
steroids. Yeah. The first week is survival, so that's like just again making sure you're not going to die. And then the second week's movements or mobility, so they teach you how to ski, and then you go on fucking ridiculously long skis. And then the third week is fight week, where you put it all together essentially and learn how to be a soldier in that environment. But that's hard.
You're not really sold it to me so far, I'll be honest.
No, it's just tough and cold. The coldest temperature, one of the coldest temperature in Norway I experienced was -55 with wind chill.
Fuck off.
-55 Celsius. Yeah.
That's
It
mental.
was ridiculous, man.
Were you exposed to that? Or were you in a nice warm
No,
shack?
so you have tents, which are like just normal. Just I imagine like a normal tent you take to snow.
Yeah, so piss thin.
Yeah, pretty much. We're in there, and that's pretty sound because you're out of the wind, and the wind's the main thing.
Yeah.
And you're all dressed up, and then you have to go on sentry for half an hour stint, and then you are just sat in the elements.
Yeah.
And you can't have any exposed skin because it'll fucking die basically. So you've got a neoprene face mask on, pair of goggles, like a hat obviously, and like 15 layers on, and then you sat trying to look out of the harbour for. The idea is to obviously spot threats, and call them in, and then you can fight, right? It ended up with me fucking because the wind was coming into the harbour.
He's facing the opposite direction.
I was like, fuck this. I was facing into the harbour. So I just gave up, mate. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't see anything anyway. Like, the wind was coming so fucking heavy, I couldn't see anything. I was like, I'm adding nothing to proceedings here, and I'm fucking freezing my tits off. I'm turning around.
So, if any of you out there worried about the threat of Russia, be rest assured that NATO's northern flank was safe in the hands of Harry Shepherd.
Safely handled there, don't worry about it. Putin, if you're listening.
Yeah, he's kicking himself now that you've
I'm a window opportunity. That half an hour stint. But that
so
was
if you can summarise that as the cold being shit.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the fact that you actually have to do some kind of like training and
you have to be competent basically in the cold
and not just shiver.
Yeah.
So that's the main shit thing. Any other kind of little things that just got to you?
In Norway,
because when you're in like intense cold like that, little things can just niggle at you, and it's like
everything's just more difficult. So, like for getting water, because you have an allotment, obviously like a litre of water you take with you.
Yeah.
But after that, you then have to melt snow. So if you want to drink, you've now got to fucking get your gloves off, get your stove out of the thing, make sure your stove's protected from the wind, otherwise it won't work. Fucking smash loads of snow into your mess tin. Then it's got to melt. You wouldn't believe how fucking little water you get out of a full fucking mess tin of snow. It's so ridiculous.
So much admin
just to wet your fucking mouth with like that much water, mate.
So
it's
much
terrible.
admin for a bit of water.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But so that's one thing. Everything's just more difficult. Trying to tie your lace. The worst thing, actually, this is just coming back to me now. So
the PTSD.
Yeah. So like I said, with the long skis. So like 12-hour skis with massive weight on your back. Because you're not a competent skier, or no one is with that kind of skiing. It's not like downhill skiing. You're like proper just walking with skis. And you're only doing that because obviously the surface area of the ski spreads your weight out.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got a ski on, you'd just be in like 8 feet of snow. And so when you fall over, which inevitably happens because you're just standing there for ages, not only do you fall over, but you've got your like 50 kilo rucksack careering you into the deck. You then end up like 5 feet deep in snow. You then got to try and claw your way back to the top, which the way they tell you to do it just isn't workable. They're like
It's bollocks.
Stab your thing into the snow and then stand up on that. It doesn't happen. And so a lot of times you just sat like fucking cursing at things and just shouting a lot of profanity while you're trying to get your skis to be in the right place. Then your ski will come off. It's just a fucking nightmare.
Well, because we obviously both went on the school school ski trip, which was
very different to that.
Yeah. So I remember stacking it on like a green slope, and it would take me about 5 minutes to get up then. And I've only got to pull up my own body.
And they're like compact as well. You can actually stand on them.
The skis are like that long.
Yeah,
not 8 foot.
It's ridiculous. So that was hard, and that's just hard to deal with because it happens so much. And then I ended up, you have like 50 or 60 people in your like course on your course.
Yeah.
And obviously, inevitably, one or two of them is just horrendous at skiing, just can't fucking comprehend it. So by the end, everyone else is pretty decent. And because you patrol in like a troop snake, so there's like, imagine like a big queue, basically, of people with 5 meters in between them. And then, if one person goes down, because you can't go round them because you have to go on the trodden route, you have to just fucking wait. So you stood there with this weight on your back, digging into your shoulders for like hours and hours, with some knobhead in front of you. You can't fucking ski, falling over every 5 seconds.
So it's like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, isn't it?
We had this Asian fella from the army who was just not taking to it. It's like he'd never seen snow before, and he was like he was down every 5 seconds. He would get up and then like put too much weight this way with his Bergen, and then he'd go down again. We're like, oh my god!
And you know it's coming as well.
Yeah, you can see it happen like a mile off.
You'd be fucking seething watching him teeter with his Bergen, and then when he goes, and you're like, stood there like a fucking emperor penguin in the pissing snow,
cold. Yeah, you're like, fuck's sake. They'd always tell us to be bold, start cold. That's the tagline, right? So you start a yomp with like no warmers on, no warm layers, because you're going to sweat.
Yeah.
But then what would happen is, obviously, like I say, you'd stop every 5 seconds, so you'd just be freezing. So you'd be like, that doesn't work. So I ended up just chilling it off and putting warmers on. I was like, I'm going to die here, so this is ridiculous. Yeah, so that's it.
So that's shit. Positives of Norway? Are there any?
Yeah, there are. So after that 3 weeks, you're kind of in then, and you don't have to you have to obviously go in the field and do your job, but you don't have to do the like rite of passage stuff. And so you're a bit more free on camp. And so in the place where you are, the local thing to do is just go skiing, civilian skiing. So you can just on the weekend just go.
That's class, and they've got like regular ski resorts.
Yeah, so it's really good. That's pretty good. Once you're out of the shit bit, the first 3 weeks, then it's pretty cool. Just because of where you are in the world, and it's a completely unique experience. And
it's when in Rome.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to take yourself up on the slopes, because otherwise you'd be bored and missing home.
Skiing, tick.
Yeah. Any more?
Drinking.
Yeah, bits of drinking.
Is there an Irish bar?
Yes.
Was there actually?
Yeah, 100%.
I have a theory that there's an Irish bar in any decent place.
Everywhere
I've
ever been. Yeah. Everywhere I've ever been. So that where we stay is called Bardufoss, and it's in like the top of Norway, right? What we did for a long weekend was went to Tromsø, which is about an hour and a half further north into the Arctic Circle. Only thing it's got is like a college.
Yeah.
And an Irish bar, pretty much. That is it, and it's a really good night out, to be fair.
Santa's local.
Yeah, pretty much. We just went to the local like club or whatever, and no shenanigans really happened on that particular night. But yeah, there was an Irish bar.
That's unreal. I assume there's too many clothes. There's too many clothes going on for people to get frisky.
Not in the clubs. It's like anywhere. You have a massive cloakroom.
I just pictured everyone on the dance floor look like the Michelin Man.
Yeah,
just shuffling around.
It's like that on the streets. It's a rather strange experience. But the temperature actually fluctuated a lot when we were there. It was went obviously down to the cold of -55. But actually, it was steady at like -10, which in England -10 is mental, but in Norway it's not, because it's a dry cold, which is very different. Don't really know how to describe it, but it's a very different experience, and it's just not cold. Like past -15 is a bit uncomfortable, but other than that, it's fine.
You're not really sold Norway to me, lad.
No,
I think if you don't like the cold and you're not into skiing, it's not
the place to be at all. And there was just this is a pretty good point. There was a unreal kebab shop about 10-minute walk. 10-minute walk from
Norway, renowned for its kebab meat.
Yeah, I don't know where he's getting it from. To be honest.
This guy has found a niche in the market, and he's run with it, hasn't he?
It's actually closed now. I was so depressed to find
the way
out
that you
about
researched it.
Yeah,
that's one of the lads told me.
I saw it. Some of the lads told me, but
fucking stalking this bloke on Facebook.
Ready for your next visit. It was class though. You got like a massive fucking, 12-inch fucking massive thing. But anyway. That was another. Another positive.
So that's Norway.
Yeah.
Let's go flip side.
Yeah. America.
The United States.
Yeah. Which one? Negatives first.
Yeah. So how long were you there for?
8 to 10 weeks. I can't remember.
I thought it was
between
longer.
8. No, I think it was 8.
Right. Okay.
2 months. Yeah.
And
long enough.
And what was the purpose of your visit?
Is that a customs?
Yeah. Search me. Sound like HM Revenue and Customs.
And their customs do ask you that as well. What's the purpose of your visit? I guess it's just an exercise to work with US forces. That happens every year. The Marines will go and work with the US Marines, and by work with I mean challenge. And so eventually what happened was there's a mock village that's mocked up to be like a Iraq village, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of this training area, which is fucking
massive.
Is
it like Hollywood?
No, it's like shacks and stuff, like just hard corners to take contact with and stuff. And so what happens generally is the US forces, or it'll be the other way around. The US forces will hold the village, and then we'll have to take the village from them, and that'll be the general like idea. And so the whole thing is building up to that finale, I guess.
Okay, because you were armoured support and you went over with the Vikings, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So we're kind of supplying the village with goods and ammo and people and shit.
Right, okay. Go through the positives and negatives, but I also have a few questions regarding US military and the differences, but we'll address that.
Okay, we'll address that afterwards.
I'll put my silly hat on again.
Negatives. It's always on. Negatives wise, we've got the accommodation was terrible. I wish I could find.
I remember you moaning about this at the time.
Oh mate, I rocked up not knowing what to expect.
You were in like massive dorms, weren't you? With like shit camp beds or something.
Yeah, it wasn't even dorms. It was mad. It was like they're called case bands. They call them. It's like a big. Imagine like a shipping container in a different form, it's like got a curved roof, but that's basically the only. It's like an corrugated iron.
What do they used to call them in the war?
Oh, like a bomb shelter, air raid shelter,
like an Anderson shelter or something.
Oh yeah, almost like that. Yeah. And then at one point at the end of this thing, we had loads of rain and it fucking flooded, and there's no drainage, and so it came across comms, and they were like, "Oh yeah. We're going to have torrential rain in a bit, lads. You're going to have to dig a trench outside your fucking your case band so it doesn't flood."
What, so you've got to install your own gutter in that,
yeah,
basically?
Pretty much. There's like the new lads, which was me and a couple of my mates, had to fucking get on our hands and knees and get our entrenching tools and be digging. So that was shit. Accommodation, the food was really bad, I would say.
Oh, really?
On that... So we were on a battle camp. So this was annoying. So, like, 5 miles up the road, there was, like, the bee's knees of military camps.
Yeah, so I've heard that a lot of military camps in the United States have, like, franchises in them.
Mate.
So, like, you get Pizza Hut, Burger King.
Unreal. Like, they had its own kind of Merry Hill, like a shopping centre, on camp. And they had, like, the gym was insane. There wasn't even really a gym in the other place. So then 5 miles down the road where we were, in the battle camp, was a crap mess hall, a crap gym, a tiny little shop.
Like,
we had the shit end of the shovel basically. So, and then that was just annoying knowing that was down the road. We also knew that all the other fucking units, if he's listening, the officer who made this happen, then fuck you. But all the other units and all the other like mortars and all the rest of it
from the Corps.
Yeah, who were with the Corps, and like they had their superiors or their hierarchy sort them out cars so they could just fucking whip to the good one and go to Pizza Hut or go to Starbucks, whatever. And what the so that like shopping centre thing, what our officer said, he was like, lads, we were all obviously pestering him like, oh, can we get a rental car? He didn't want to do the admin to get us one, and he was like, lads, don't worry about it unless you want to buy a TV. Main side's fucking not all that. And he was there every fucking day, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest undersell in history, isn't it?
He came back with a fucking Starbucks daily to do his brief, and we're like, "Are you fucking insane? We're on this shit camp with shit food. We're hanging out for anything normal, right?" And he's there telling us how shit it was. But and then we'd obviously talk to our mates who were outside, and they'd be like, "Yeah, it's sick.
That's shit.
That's fucking.
I'd be fucking seeing."
Yeah, so that was shit.
So that's annoying because you took an L there. That was an unnecessary L.
An unneeded L. So, I mean, that was shit. But then, also, one that was I should probably address, that was my fault. And I guess, I don't know, it's probably my fault. Well, you can be the judge. Basically, I was very, very new to the unit. Yeah. Very, very new to armoured support. And had no experience in that wagon, right? And I was put straight in the driver's seat for our section commander, so our corporal.
Yeah.
In that, I think I alluded to it last week, but in that kind of environment where they've got to be on their game, their head is fucking going mental. They're doing all sorts of random shit.
Yeah.
Like, obviously commanding.
They get like 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, talking to everyone. Yeah. Talking on different nets. They're fucking shooting. They're doing all sorts. Last thing they need is to be helping me steer the wagon. I'm not experienced enough in the wagon yet to be able to do that myself. So what normally happens is they get an experienced operator, is what they call it, to drive the wagon for the commander. Didn't happen. It was me. And I'm shit at driving anyway. And I was driving a big fucking heavy armoured vehicle, which I knew nothing about. That rubbed him up the wrong way. And we had a toxic relationship in that wagon, shall we say. However, what I will say is now we have a good relationship, so it's fine.
That's good. You've come full circle.
But absolutely. He's the making of
Put yourself in his shoes for a second. He's doing a fucking million and one different things. He hasn't even got time to breathe. And you're fucking prodding him on the shoulder, pointing at the steering wheel saying, how does this work?
No, not quite that bad. But I'm like, so imagine like cross-country driving, and I don't want to roll the vehicle because I don't know quite the capabilities of the vehicle yet. I'm like, oh Dan, can you have a look at this or whatever? And he's like, fucking hell, you shouldn't do it. And the one time, which is just a lapse from me, because I'm thinking about loads of different things as well, because I don't know what I'm doing. I forgot that that Americans drive on the other side of the road.
Fuck's sake.
And so
this is amateur hour.
And so like, I pull out of a junction and drove on the fucking wrong side of the road, going towards a civilian vehicle that was obviously not going to win in that battle, right? And I just got a fucking scream. He took his comms unit off, so he didn't want to talk to me. Kicked me in the fucking helmet like that. Fucking cunt. And I was like, oh shit. But yeah, that was my fault. But anyway, that was a bit shit.
So basically, America's been, you're a product of your own downfall at the moment.
Yeah, well, for that bit, yeah. So that wasn't great.
Just they're two L's.
Yeah.
Any more?
No, I think that was about it. That's enough, innit?
That's enough. Yeah, you put yourself down now.
Put me under the fucking bus.
Right, okay. The good parts of America. So you were in Nevada, weren't you?
Yeah. We're in that kind of. It's called the Mojave Desert or something.
Fuck knows.
I don't know. If someone will say that in the comments, you got it wrong.
You got it wrong. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. The good part actually was quite unplanned. One of my best mates from my old unit, who I'd now separated with, he'd gone mortars, and we ended up being the vehicle for the mortar variant. So
sweet for you.
It just fucking somehow happened that he was now in my vehicle, which is mad. And then, so at least I knew someone pretty well, and we could have banter and whatever. We ended up actually being, so we were there for, like I said, like 8 weeks. For like 5-6 of those weeks we were in the fields. We were out doing shit because we were mortars, and we were out having to, be deployed like a mile or two away from the tasking, and then mortar the tasking, whatever. So we'd have to be out doing the thing. A lot of lads didn't, and just ended up staying in those shit fucking accommodation for ages. What we ended up having at some points was a good 5 days where we could almost have stand down, because we were off camp, away from prying eyes and prying ears, and we would just set our camp beds up under the stars because the weather was sound. There was no rain.
Oh, I love that.
So we were just kipping under the stars in the middle of the fucking desert. Mental experience, right? That you wouldn't get anywhere else. Just absolutely sinking MREs, which are the military ration packs of the US Armed Forces, which are fucking awesome. They've got tacos and burritos and fucking Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, well, this is gonna get on
class.
Anyway. This leads us nicely.
Yeah.
Onto my silly hat section.
Silly hats on.
Of the differences.
We'll edit a silly hat onto. Yeah.
The differences between the Marine, the US Marine Corps, and the Royal Marines.
Right.
So obviously they've got better ration packs.
Yes.
They've got better military.
Say better.
Is it the novelty of them?
Yeah, no. It's that they're fucking nicer and they're easier to use. In terms of
sustenance,
being effective ration packs,
right,
they're not great because they're like I say Reese's Pieces and all that bollocks.
Right, okay.
That's why they're fat. But.
So it's the morale nutrition toss up, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we very much go on the fucking nutrition sign.
Biscuit
Morale's
Browns.
down here. Yeah, biscuit browns.
Right, okay. So that better camps.
Oh yeah, they're main camps.
They're basically like shopping malls, aren't they?
We got something floated at one point, like an opportunity that was apparently going to happen where we'd have to leave the wagons out there. Of course, wherever we travel, the wagons have to come with us. And so they were thinking, hang on, we do this trip every year. Why don't we just leave them here and leave 2 lads here to maintain them? That was their thinking. Makes sense. First thing that ever made sense in the military, really. And then I was like, fuck, if I can get on that detail, that is amazing. I could stay in America on main side, just doing fizz all the time, maintaining vehicles, which means doing basically fuck all.
Yeah, jack shit.
I was like, that'd be a dream, but it never happened in the end. But yeah, so good camps.
Standards.
Right.
I'm throwing you under the bus here.
Yeah. Fine. Go for it.
Who's better? basically.
Well, if we look at the statistics,
we can clip this.
Yeah. Our training's longer, so our training's 32 weeks. Theirs is like 8 or some bullshit, right?
I think it's like 12 or 13,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that.
Well, it's still piss.
Still shit.
Piss all compared to.
Yeah. There's a couple of other things I think that matter as well, where we're expected to be the thinking soldier and expected to take kind of initiative and stuff like that. Where, you know, if you've seen their training videos, you seen any of that like boot camp stuff?
I've seen the film Jarhead.
Yes. So good little like clip from that, I guess is.
That's actually a good film.
Yeah, it's a good film. A good clip from that is, you know, the drill instructor's in his face, going
just giving him
mental,
shit basically,
and you're just like indoctrinated, and you know repeating that sir, yes sir, all that bollocks.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen in obviously our forces. We're a lot more measured, like the culture, and because of that, I think it probably breeds a little bit more of a robotic marine, and that doesn't bode well really for being elite, whatever. The thing that we're on about, so the America trip where we go against each other. I think the last 2 or 3 we've beat them, so that's a good sign. They obviously have more manpower.
Yeah, so there's more of them basically, isn't there?
Yeah, this is quite funny.
Go on.
So there was like a week or 2 into America, the US forces came and started doing their shit.
Yeah.
Within like 16 hours, right, someone had been shot on a range. So
friendly fire?
Yeah. Someone had just been shot. Don't know how that happened. 2 people. One fucking tank had crashed. So that's American as well. One tank had crashed into somewhere.
Which is now on its way to Ukraine.
Yeah. And then one of the Humvee drivers, right, get this, had fucking driven off a cliff. So driven off a fucking mountain.
No.
Like, he just fucked it.
Jesus, take the wheel.
He went, like his face was smashed into the steering wheel, all sorts happened, so yeah, not great. I wouldn't say.
Fucking hell,
From those 3 things.
You getting a hard time for understeering.
Yeah, I know.
He's fucking driven off a cliff, the daft bastard.
Well, that's the standards we're talking about though, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
So there you go.
Yeah, you've encapsulated that well.
There you go, so that's it. So I'll probably say that
so
paints enough of a picture into the differences.
Yeah.
I've never actually known, this could fucking go badly, I could eat my words. But I've never actually known a Marine to have any fratricide or friendly fire on a range, because that is mental to me. Yeah. The Army British Army have done that.
Yeah,
but to me,
distance yourself from them.
That is just inconceivable. Like, how it's so safe when you're on a range and there's so much safety precautions that happen. It's just fucking mad that could ever happen. But
that is mental.
Yeah. I think again though it's standards, because as soon as anything happens on a ranges for us are around really relaxed, because they want us to be in a relaxed state to shoot well.
Yeah.
But as soon as something happens that isn't safe, they go in fucking batshit and they'll completely stop everything and rinse you pretty much. So like it just nothing ever happens on a range. It's really good. Yeah.
That's mental. Never underestimate Americans would be my take home from that. And
in a bad way.
Yeah, and the British Royal Marines are better than the US Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So
clip.
Take that, America.
Yeah, Jamie, clip that.
Yeah. Right, okay, so positives of the United States.
For the trip.
For the trip.
The location was probably a massive positive.
Because you're a heat person, aren't you?
Well, that
was lizard.
Good. That was good. I'd probably the big thing though would have been the fact that we were like equidistant between California and LA and Las Vegas. And so when we had our social bit, which we'll get to, we were able to choose, do you want to go on a bus to Vegas or a bus to LA? Which is mental, right? So we went to Vegas.
Choose?
We went to Vegas. The lads who went to LA actually didn't enjoy it as much, because LA's proper like...
People say LA like you go into Manchester or something. It's fucking huge. It's so sprawling.
Oh no, yeah.
So unless you actually...
But downtown LA is a shithole.
Yeah, so large parts of it are... he says, having never been even to America.
Yeah. Well, I've never been either. But...
So it's a shithole, right? Everyone's a cunt. So I've heard that it's a bit of a dive.
Yeah.
And because it was built for the automobile, it's fucking sprawling.
So it's hard to get
So
around,
unless you know where you want to go...
Which you don't when you're there for 3 days.
Which you don't when you're a tourist and you're there for 3 days. You basically spend all your time sat in a car.
We made a good decision. Because, like... And the homeless thing is mental in LA. Because loads of people go there from wider America to chase their dreams and go to Hollywood. Obviously, no one gets there, and so they're like, I know we can't afford fucking rent. So
it's huge.
The
Skid
Row is insane, but that's a caveat. It's one for a different episode.
We'll pick that up at another on
a
later podcast,
later date. So yeah, like the opportunity to go for a social was insane there, I would say.
If you want a social, you're going to go to Vegas, aren't you?
Yeah. And like I said, like the ability to go and be in the field and just have that experience of being like really detached from the wider exercise was really cool, to be fair. Looking back, in the moment I was a bit like, this is shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking back, it was good.
Go on then, loosest story from Vegas.
From Vegas?
There's got to be one. You're in fucking Vegas, I'd be disappointed if there isn't.
I don't know if there was from Vegas. Hold on. I think... Yeah. I mean, the obvious, like, strip clubs and stuff happened, but nothing, like, untoward happened. Like, just a normal fucking strip club visit in Vegas. Other than...
Part and parcel.
Other than... my card got, like, taken by a lady of the night. And and almost.
I thought you were going to try and package that up as if it got stolen.
No, almost rinsed. No, it did get stolen.
Yeah,
almost rinsed for all my money, but luckily, shout out to TSB, they cut my card before anything happened. So I was in a Hard Rock Cafe the next day, ringing the bank like, can you open my card back because I need to pay for shit. And they're like, yeah, we just need to go through a few security questions. Was it you last night at 2 a.m. in Las Vegas in this bar? And I had the name of the strip club. I was like, oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was me. Anything after that though, not me.
Exactly. So that was quite funny.
It's like a scene at The Hangover.
Yeah.
What's your name? I don't know, but I now have a monkey tattoo on my face.
True. Yeah. Oh, that one was Vegas actually. This is gonna, Mom, if you're listening, probably go mute by now.
Katie gave up a long time ago. She didn't make it past episode 1.
Can only hope. Anyway, so we sat in this bar, we're day drinking, of course. It's me. I was out with actually all the Mortars lads, Mad Mental Mortars. For anyone watching the breast.
Shout out to the Mad Mental Mortars boys.
Yeah. And so I don't know what happened really. We were all wearing shit shirts, and this girl came over. She was like 25, 26, whatever. Took a liking to me straight away. She was pissed off her head. And we were as well.
Like a pig in shit.
Yeah, we were as well. She was loving life because she was surrounded by those bootnecks. Anyway, she like commandeered me, if you like. Right?
This is going into very, very precarious territory right now.
It's alright, this is fine. Okay. And then she took me to the toilets. And you can imagine what happened next. Right, I'll leave that to your imagination. Jamie, who you know very well, had followed us in without my knowledge. Right, we're in a cubicle at this point. Again, you can imagine. And then Jamie had his Snapchat out, had his phone over the cubicle wall, getting like pure,
that is a classic, mate.
Yeah,
he's had you there,
getting absolute footage. Right. Anyway, I don't know where that footage is now. Hopefully he's deleted.
We'll clip that in now.
Yeah, we will not. Anyway, and then the security of the bar caught wind of what was going on. Came into the fucking toilet.
The orgy in the toilet.
Yeah, came into the toilet. Jamie scarpered. They were like fucking banging on the bathroom
floor.
It
wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I came out. I was like, I was just going for a piss. They're like, what, in the ladies? I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then they turfed us out, me and the bird. They were like, give us your IDs. So we had to give them their ID, and they took a photo of us both and said, you're both banned for life from this casino chain or whatever, which is like the major casino chain in Vegas.
That's class.
Can't remember what it was. But anyway, so apparently I'm banned for life.
You need to remember that. That's such a good story.
Yeah, I know. That was hilarious. But that came to me when I was thinking of dits in the car just now coming down.
I don't recall that. You probably told me before. I've just forgotten.
I
don't think I've heard that one before.
Yeah. It escalated quickly.
And there weren't any loose stories from Norway?
No. We really only went out once in Norway because it's so detached from it. We only went to Tromsø once for like one night.
Bit of a one-horse town.
And nothing really happened.
Right, so let's cast the net wider. This is just general. We'll move on to socials now. We'll segue.
Okay, segue into socials. Okay, good one.
Well, let's cover some housekeeping first.
Right.
There's obviously a very proud drinking culture.
There is, yeah.
In the Royal Marines.
Like, imagine like a rugby club. Same kind of idea. Same kind of vibe.
Yeah, just working class lads instead of privately educated. Or a mix
of
both.
Bit of both, yeah.
But, right, so, to what extent are you, like, not a part of things if you're not buying into the drinking culture?
If you're just not drinking, but you're still going out and being social, then that's all right. You probably get away with that.
It's more of if you're a party pooper, basically.
Yeah, if you're never going to go out and be with the lads in a non-work setting,
yeah, you're
just going to be coming short of that like rapport and that relationship building you get. Obviously, when you're in work, you talk about certain stuff. When you're a bit looser in town, you talk about like personal stuff, and that gets you a little deeper relationship. Then when you go to work, it's stronger. So there's a lot of benefit, I think, in that.
Right, that's the educational bit out
there. Yeah.
Give me your best stories.
Okay, we'll just go through. This one's quite a funny one, but it's not actually... It's with Marine lads, but it's not actually like a Marine trip. It was a segue from one. So I said I went to Holland.
Yeah.
So we went to Holland for 2 weeks. Middle weekend was in Amsterdam. We'll get to that. The next weekend, so the one before we went home, we could choose where we wanted to go, and we had a long weekend. So we went to Madrid, me and two of my mates.
Right, yeah. Because you actually went away quite a lot while you were in the Corps.
Yeah.
With the lads.
Yeah,
but they weren't actually work trips, they were just holidays.
Yeah, so I'll include them as well.
Yeah, they can.
They can. But anyway, this one was funny. So we were sat in a bar, and I don't know if this happens regularly, but we sat 3 lads in a bar just in Madrid. It's like 11 p.m. or whatever. Been getting on it all day, smashed.
Yeah.
And some geezer comes up to you. They do when they're like random geezers when they're on their own. And they're like come up to the lads and start to strike up conversation or whatever.
Is this an English guy or a Spanish guy?
No, I won't tell you his nationality yet because you'll find out.
Okay.
You'll find out in a minute. So he comes up and starts to attract weirdos.
I attract weirdos on a night.
Yeah, you do really bad. So we attracted one of your weirdos on your behalf.
He was looking for me,
and he's like buying us drinks, whatever. We're chatting. We start to tell him he starts to tell us what he does or what we thought he did, and then he was like, "Oh, so what do you do?" We didn't really tell him. We were kind of being a bit shady because we thought he was a little bit of a weird character. Anyway, he's then like, "Oh." We were like, "Oh, so what have you been up to the last couple of months?" He goes, "Oh, well, yeah, I've just been to Syria." And we're like, "All right, cool. What are you doing in Syria?" Obviously, this is when shit was going on. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I was there with this group." We were like, "Right, okay." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll show you a photo." Actually, he's getting us all these bevs and that. And he's like, "I'll show you a photo." Gets this photo up of him in the middle of this fucking like ISIS group in Syria, and we're like, what the fuck? We stood next to, we're obviously all three Marines, we stood next to the fucking enemy essentially, like ISIS.
The reincarnation of Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, and we were like, what the fuck? We have to get out of here now. And he actually said to my mate before, he was like, he's a lad from Liverpool, and before this all came out, he was like, they sort of had a connection on like, they used to deal, one of them used to deal each other Charlie or something. So there was like a connection there in Liverpool back in the day, and then he must have gone to Syria. But yeah, that was mental.
Is this guy British?
No, he was. I think he looked like he was.
Middle East,
he sounded like he was from
Middle East,
yeah.
Syrian. Fucking hell, that's dodgy.
It was dark.
Good job you didn't let on
that's
your profession, because that could have opened a right can of worms.
That's the thing. I think he must have known, surely, because he wouldn't just come over.
Yeah, it's
he must have like suspected
sniffing around, to be honest.
So that was mental. There's a quick one in Holland, which is quite funny.
Fucking hell, we're globe-trotting now. This is going all
in Holland, so in Amsterdam, we'd gone out to like Central Club, I think it's called, something like that. One of the clubs that's
loose.
Yeah, pretty loose. And we were there till the early hours. Coming back, obviously, if you've ever been to Amsterdam, it's flat. It's bike central, right? Yeah. So, one of my mates, who's quite loose anyway, decided to ride someone's bike who they hadn't locked it up properly. Right?
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto style. Because it's how they get to work and shit in the morning, isn't it? It's how they commute.
Yeah, and because they're not absolute degenerates like we are, they can just leave their bike.
Not normally not worry about it.
Because a Dutch person wouldn't rob it.
Yeah, but a person from Yorkshire would. So it's like...
so Partridge.
So he jumps on this bike. He's cycling down the fucking street, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he then, when you ghost it, when you jump off.
Yeah.
He jumped off, let it go. Obviously, it's full of canals, isn't it? Went straight to canal, mate. So that geezer would have woke up in the morning
with an amphibious bike.
Yeah, expecting just to get on his bike, go to work. He'd have gone out and be like, "What the fuck?" And then probably seen it in the canal.
And
so
that
was funny.
The thing is, he fucking knows that was a British tourist, doesn't he?
110%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ridiculous. That was mental. And then,
so if you're out there, sorry, but we're not getting you a new bike.
It wasn't me. I'm just telling the story. I promise it wasn't me. And then there's another one who also wasn't me. But so you ever been to Hamburg?
No.
So in Hamburg, there's a place called the Reeperbahn, which is like the sex capital of Europe, right? Fucking like, honestly, there's brothels on every corner. Every other bar is a brothel, strip club, whatever. So it's mad. It's obviously all legal. You get like a blazer for like €20, like a shag for like €35. It's mental.
You should work for the tourism board.
Yeah, mental. Flights are like £100 now.
yeah. Click the link in the description.
yeah, my only fans. Anyway, one of the lads, obviously we had a brief. You get a brief wherever you go.
Yeah.
About kind of
behaving,
housekeeping,
yeah,
like we did. And one of the things was, if you ever go to like a seedy place, obviously pay cash, leave your card at home, right? One of the lads didn't think he'd take that advice, so he was again quite a loose bloke. You get a lot of them in the club.
Really?
Yeah, ended up heavy weapons, believe it or not.
No, he is a heavy weapon.
Yeah. Anyway, he ended up giving. He was like, "I've got no cash." Obviously, horny as fuck after night out. Went to a brothel, gave this bird his card, and she was like, she must have been like, "Oh yeah, €40 or whatever." Gave his card before anything had happened. She, without a doubt, without fucking a second's notice, gave it to this kid who they have on standby.
Yeah.
This kid runs out, mate. Gets it. I don't know how they did it, but like
gets it cloned or
gets
whatever.
it cloned or something like that. Puts it in a card machine, and he'd lost like $2,500. Yeah, overnight, mate.
What a fucking helmet! Like,
so all his fault, and he was warned against it. But yeah, that was a funny one as well.
That's the darker side of core socials, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine there'd have been a lot of stuff with Amsterdam red light district, but I wasn't privy to that. So yeah. But they're main ones I can recall. Yeah,
from the heights, the dizzy heights of Vegas, Amsterdam, Hamburg.
Yeah,
let's bring it back to where it all began in Exeter.
Yeah,
as a recruit.
Oh yeah.
For anyone interested that might be going through training,
yeah.
What's Exeter like as a night out generally, and then what's it like out as a recruit? Because it's my understanding that you're not always granted access to everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's really good as a recruit, to be fair, because it's the only place you've got, and you take what you're given. You go out, you've got like a curfew, so you got out early, because you've got to be back by 2, so you try and get all your fucking shenanigans done in those couple of hours. You go to a place normally called Timepiece. Anyone will know who's in Exeter or who's in training will know fondly of Timepiece, and they will generally let you in. A lot of the other clubs, like the one called Unit 1, again, I don't know if any of these are still open, but Unit 1 never would let us in because you can see Marine recruits fucking a mile off. So like the bouncers obviously know what to look for. It's like kind of well built lads, shaved head.
Yeah,
dressed the same.
If you're at the start of training as well, like the shaved head,
you've got no chance.
Spot that from a mile off.
No chance. And actually, during training, you have no ID. They take your driving license. Remember this?
Yeah.
You take your driving license off you, so you only have your military ID. So if they didn't know before, they'll ID you. And now they will know. So a lot of times they'll turn you away because they know you're trouble. If they don't, you probably will be trouble when you're in the club. There used to be a place in Timepiece. So anyone who's from Birmingham will know Snobs. Snob's got 3 floors, First floor. As you go up in the floors, I like to think, gets a bit more loose, right?
Yeah.
Timepiece was the same. Bottom floor was pretty chill. Middle floor was where most of everything happened, like everyone was having a good time. Towards the end of the night, where it got a bit more seedy.
Yeah, and then
you would go into the furnace.
Third level is like heavy petting vibes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that would be interesting. And then there was one night who, the bloke I went to his wedding actually the other day. I don't know what he did. He just saw red. I don't know what happened, but anyway, he was like, his missus had separated from this guy, this rugby student, whatever.
Yeah.
His missus had separated from him, and now was talking to one of my mates. My other mate, the lad whose wedding it was, had seen that happen and sort of clocked that there'd be maybe an issue, right? And so, before, like, a preemptive stance he took on this was hilarious. So he's like, he saw the bloke clock his missus and clock that she was with someone else,
Yeah.
and then saw like the thought process of him going to
Yeah.
attack my mate. And then, before we even knew it, I just saw him dart across the dance floor and fucking nut this geezer, mate.
He's gone straight in with a nut.
yeah, he straight dropped the nut, and then yeah, obviously carnage ensued from there.
Yeah.
But that was quite interesting. Yeah, I mean that happened on a regular
You've got to back
basis.
yourself if you go straight in with a nut.
Yeah, trust. I got
Not
battered by,
not even like a flailing fist.
Yeah,
Like he's gone straight in with his head.
Straight in with the big head. He had big head as well. That'd been painful.
That's probably what used it.
Yeah, there you go. He knows what he's doing. Done that before. But yeah, Exeter's decent. I think. Well, we're gonna find out. Aren't we? We're gonna go down there, but
Yeah.
I haven't actually been there as a civvy or as a trained rank, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so this will
Completely
be
different dynamic.
So like we've got a mate who's going through training at the moment, and
Yeah.
we're going to go to his pass out weekend, aren't we?
Mm.
So this will be good because I've never done a weekend out in Exeter.
Oh, yeah.
And you haven't been back in God
Yeah.
knows how long. So we'll go back with fresh perspective.
Yeah, it'll be good, and we'll come and report back to the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be good because it'll be interesting to see the differences
Yeah.
between the two.
I mean, actually, we have got a lot of good dits about Snob's nightclub.
Yeah,
And actually a good one about you not having military ID as well. But we'll
yeah.
save that
We'll
for
park that for
we'll
it.
park that for a rainy day.
It's not like on a show.
It's not like we're better than that.
Yeah.
Right, any more loose dits?
Not that I can think of. They're kind of the main ones. Yeah, mainly I guess stripper and brothel stories to boot, and then
Well, I mean, they can
random.
you can imagine how a lot of those stories end. can't
exactly, yeah. My sergeant once gave one of the lads enough money to go and get his end away with a prostitute.
You pity him that much?
Yeah.
Fuck me. Christ.
They were in Mackey's or something, and the geezer hadn't had, obviously, it got to the end of the night and wasn't getting lucky, so, yeah, sergeant was like, "You got any cash?" Nah, it's
sad.
€40. It's mad, isn't it?
Actually, speaking of prostitutes, or well, actually no, what happened with the paras?
When?
Remember that girl who got caught?
I
She
remember
basically got
something like
passed
this.
around a camp or something. Like loads of paras got
round her.
done for it. Yeah, apparently
Yeah.
she was notorious because like they went through like the logbook like in and out of camp.
Yeah.
And, like even
You have there's a bit of
like
that.
even the officers have been like signing her in and that like.
That's mental.
And then like
some girls love it, mate. So like especially in Exeter because they know like that lads are in training or whatever.
So they can like sniff them from a mile away.
Yeah, it's mental. Some like have it like a tick off sheet, like 232 troop done. You know, but yeah, I don't know. It's mad. It seems to be like a fetishy thing. Don't know.
Well, if you don't know what I'm on about, I articulated that story terribly. But basically, like a woman got caught being brought into a
military camp, basically.
and I think, for want of a better phrase, like all the lads basically just gangbanged her.
Right.
And then the videos emerged online, and then like a fucking a load. It all came out, and they had to launch like an internal inquiry and everything.
Yeah, there's a few of those things that happen.
That's the paras, though.
Yeah, completely different.
We won't get that kind of behaviour in the Royal Marines.
No, it's far too reputable in the Royal Marines for that. Yeah, I mean, again, like you do get those kind of women. We always got warned off in Norway actually because the child support bills are mental. If you get a Norwegian bird pregnant, game over, mate.
Sound advice that, and then you're kind of tethered to Norway indefinitely. Then
yeah,
as well,
exactly. So they're always like, be fucking careful, because often they'll see that you're English and maybe you're well spoken or maybe you're confident, whatever. They'll see you're English incompetent, and they'll come and give themselves away to you.
Yeah, I fancy a bit of that kind of thing.
And then they'll force you to, well, not force you, but it's almost like rape, isn't it? Almost.
It is murky territory again.
Almost.
Right, okay, so finally going back, I was going to ask you this before, but I forgot. This is my own curiosity.
Okay.
The key differences between military and civilian travel.
Okay.
So, like, when you went on these trips,
Yeah.
not the holidays, as in, like, when you went to the States and Norway, Do you fly from military bases?
Yeah, you fly from RAF bases.
Okay, and are you in like cargo planes, or are they
Depends.
like converted civilian airlines?
Sometimes you're in a big cargo plane. It's just like nothing's in there, just the blokes, and they'll ferry you across. Other times, most of the time when I went, you were in just a converted commercial airline, basically.
That's a bit dull.
Yeah,
I'd
but it's
rather
not
go in a
too
big
bad.
cargo
Yeah, I
plane.
would, but it's not that bad because it's like empty. It's an empty flight, made you chilled out, ran by the RAF, so they bring you around good food. It's sound.
Yeah, so like, do you have all the usual civvy airplane nausy stuff of like customs, security?
You have security, but obviously you bring in fucking magazines and that around. Like, that's not
Anything-
normal security.
Anything to declare?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, how long you got?
I've got a rifle, a grenade, plastic explosion.
Yeah, all that gets sent separate. But anyway, yeah, you don't go through like an airport traditionally. You'll go into a hangar, a big fucking building with nothing in there really, like a vending machine. You'll be waiting for like 8 hours for your flight because the RAF are terrible with admin. You'll go through like I say, tiny bit of security stuff, and then you just be on the plane. Done. Your baggage gets taken. That's it.
That sounds pretty Gucci, to be fair.
Yeah, you do have to like still make sure you don't have the normal stuff in your main baggage.
Yeah.
You know, but they obviously have leeway for like magazines and weapon attachments and stuff they don't have in civvy airlines.
I was just saying, having said that, normal airplane security shit anyway. Remember when you brought that knife back from Zante?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In fact, no, you got it both ways.
Full disclosure, by the way, I didn't intentionally do this.
Yeah.
It was like a little fucking folding knife that I had in my day sack that I was taking to Zante. Didn't check it was in there, didn't check it wasn't in there. Just went through. Put it through the scanner, didn't I? And nothing came up. It was in like the front pocket.
Yeah.
Just obvious.
Shit.
And then I brought it back as well. And it was only when I come back and was unpacking, I was like, fucking hell. I had a knife there both ways. But yeah, so that was mental. Then the biggest difference I can think of is the fact, obviously, you choose where you go when you're going for a civilian holiday.
Yeah.
You choose you want to go to a nice place. You go to like you go to these interesting countries, right? Like Norway or like Estonia, America. But you go to like the arsehole of the place.
Yeah.
It's not like traditional. You think, oh, you went to Estonia, that's really cool. Didn't see fucking anything of Estonia.
No.
I saw like 20 miles of fucking desolate countryside, basically. Because we were just on a mad...
Yes, you don't really get
base.
real taste for the people, do you? Because
No, it's nothing like travelling, really. And that's why when I left, I was like, part of my reason was to go travelling. Some of the sergeants were like, fucking hell, you travel in the Corps, you know. But you do.
It's not. It's
But
like
it's not the same, is it? Like,
you go into places, but you're not experiencing them.
No, exactly.
You could be fucking anywhere. Couldn't you?
own
Like,
terms.
you could be in any desert in the world.
Yeah, and the thing is, while obviously like we've been through, like going to these places and getting pissed is hilarious and really good fun. When you're pissed, you could be anywhere, can you? Like you don't fucking know your arse from your elbow when you're pissed. So you're actually further not experiencing that place because you're pissed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the major difference.
I think we've covered the major points there.
Yeah.
We're going to end on the deep dive.
Yes.
Got to remember that.
Yeah, we've got a tradition. Do you want to explain it? I'll get it up.
Yeah, so tradition on the podcast, we end with a deep dive into Shep's training group chat. I randomly pick out 2 pictures blindly, and he has to explain the context behind them.
Yeah, let me just get the chat up. I don't want to get it up ahead of time because it'll be inauthentic for you guys, so I get it up in the moment. Okay. Right, let them load a little
What
bit.
dream.
They're in.
For the visually impaired or for audio listeners,
Yeah.
I am now scrolling through.
The phone has been passed.
The phone has been passed. What are we going for? With nudity or...
We had a bit of nudity last time.
Yeah, we did. What's this one? Right, okay, this is a good one.
Okay.
So, we'll click this now.
Okay, I think... So, it's either one of our training team, the lads have found like a really old... Facebook picture of him preparing for the Marines.
For the visually impaired or for audio listeners, it's basically a kid who looks like... What can I describe as like... Yeah, he looks like... What was it? It's like one of the kids out of Cheaper by the Dozen.
Yeah, he looks
kind
like
of like
the main character
mid-90s,
boy
like...
in the striped pyjamas, really.
Schmule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's wearing a Bergen that is basically the same size as him.
Oh, I think... Okay, That's probably what it is.
Is it? Are you taking the piss out of someone?
Yeah, let me do that justice. So that was me or Blods, the two smallest in the troop. Whenever we put our massive fucking ridiculous burgers on, that's what we look like.
Right.
So actually, it's not any of the training team or any of the lads. I think it's just a picture of a young, scrawny kid, which is what I was when I was fucking going through training, picking up a bag that's far too big for them, which is what we were doing. So that's what it was.
Right, okay. Next one.
Yeah.
Been drawn towards this one.
Okay.
Naturally.
Right. Fuck you.
Enjoy.
Yeah, so that's just one of the lads' sisters. Again,
classic.
We went through last week. If you haven't seen that episode, go and skip to the end of it or whatever. And that's basically the same kind of theme there.
I mean, I don't want to give away too many spoilers for the next episodes, but this group chat is quite sister heavy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I feel like there was a phase where lads went through like everyone's Instagram. We're like, who's got a fit sister? Put it in the chat.
It's got the lowest form of humour, isn't
yeah,
it?
Exactly.
Like...
So that was what that was. I think that's a pretty raunchy photo to be on your Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit loose.
It's a bit loose. That'll be behind a paywall these days, wouldn't it?
Yeah, she's making bank now.
I think she's a lawyer now.
Done well for herself.
Yeah. So I've been in two an episode in it.
Yeah, we'll cap it at that.
Yeah,
Stay tuned for more loose imagery next week.
Yeah. What's next week's episode? Tell them before.
It's a Q&A. It's myth busting.
Okay. So exciting one next week actually. So we've got almost no plan, but to have no plan is the plan. So Eddie's going to come up with some Q&A, or do you want me to put something on Instagram or whatever?
So I think if you do a combination of, I'll put my silly hat on,
yeah,
and come up with some questions,
yeah,
as kind of like a base structure,
yeah.
And then if you throw something out on your socials,
yeah, we'll do,
and we'll cherry pick like the best and funniest questions,
yeah, and then we'll just go through them for like an hour. So that should be good.
Yeah,
try and keep it a bit less like information heavy.
Yeah.
Because the questions I tend to get on Instagram are very educational. We'll try and keep them out of it to keep it fun. And then the following episode we've got something else which will be a bit more down that road.
Yeah. So if you've got any boring questions or kind of like admin questions, fuck them off.
Save them for the next week.
We want weird, wonderful, perverted, bit dark.
Yeah. Anything and everything goes, basically. And if you've got any that you don't want to put them anywhere else, just put them in the comments for this episode.
Yeah.
And we'll get to them.
Sweet.
Awesome. See you next time.
Yeah. See you in a bit.